The Neil Mellor Football Show is sponsored by the Red Balloon Toy Shop, selling classic toys for today's kids. Find us by West Kirby train station.
Yes, hello and welcome to another Neil Mellor Football Show. This, of course, is the former Liverpool striker Neil Mellor. I'm Simon Ellis-Jones, and it doesn't really matter who I am because I'm not important here. Neil.
Well, you are, because if you ask the right questions, then it could be a good little chat.
Right, so I make you look good.
Quite possibly.
Right then, let's start off with a really good question. Liverpool away at West Brom, 1-1, but how bad a performance would you rank that in terms of this season so far?
Well, I think we've seen already this season Liverpool have performed much better than that many times this season. That was a distinctly average performance from Liverpool. It was almost never really got out of first gear. It was so comfortable, never got going. I mean, to replicate the heights of the Derby victory was going to be difficult, but you just suspected the fact that beating Everton so convincingly 4-0, going into the game, confidence would have been sky high, and West Brom was struggling side, certainly in danger of being relegated this season. I think perhaps you could say there was a little bit of complacency there because Liverpool were not firing the way they have done on many occasions this season, and going in at half-time 1-0, barely broke into a sweat in the first half. One moment of brilliance by the four attacking players, and that was it. But fair play to West Brom. Pepe and Mellor, he got the players to respond second half, and they were the better side, and they deserved a point in the end. And it was a huge error from Kolo Toure, but West Brom deserved a point from that.
Yeah, you mentioned going in 1-0 at half-time, and Liverpool, they're yet to lose a game when they've been leading at half-time. I think they've won 13 and drawn 2 of the 15 games when they've been leading at half-time. So I think we all expected them to push on in the second half, but West Brom tinkered with the formation a little bit, and Liverpool had nothing in response.
Pressed a lot higher second half, West Brom, something that Pepe Mel, he likes his sides to do, put Liverpool's defence under a lot of pressure. I think there was a big moment in the game. Ben Foster, who's been performing extremely well, coming back from injury, made a brilliant save from Suarez. That goes in, it's 2-0, it's game over. But as soon as West Brom got the equalising goal, we were on the ropes. You know, the fans were really lifted by that goal, and you know, we were certainly on the ropes. And in the end, it was a game we could have quite easily have lost in the end. So to take a point, I think it's 2 points dropped when you're leading against a struggling side. We should be taking all three there.
Yeah. And Liverpool have won just 2 of their last 8 Premier League games, only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 11 Premier League games. I mean, Touré's mistake was an obvious one, but there is a pattern emerging now that away from home, things aren't tight, and they're not as tight as they should be.
I think that's the alarming stat, isn't it? 1 clean sheet in 11 games, and that was away at Tottenham. It was a fantastic performance. And you can't keep relying on the attacking players. Yeah, we've got some of the best attacking players in the division with Suarez, Sturridge, Sterling, who's on brilliant form, Coutinho. Players capable of scoring goals every game, but we cannot afford to keep relying on them. And defensively, if we're going to keep making mistakes, then you're going to allow teams to remain in games. And as West Brom proved, if you know it was a fragile lead at 1-0, they remained in the game and ended up getting something from it. Yes, we do have injuries at the back, and perhaps you'd say that wasn't the preferred back four, but there is injuries, and you've still got to be able to go out there and get those clean sheets. So that's the concern. Away from home, conceding far too many goals.
Yeah, it may not have been the preferred back four. It wasn't a bad back four, was it? But on the defensive errors, there's a little stat here that's quite interesting. Liverpool have made 29 defensive errors this season, according to the official Opta people. 29 defensive errors, 29 defensive errors which have led to a goal or an attempt on goal. And that's more than any other team in the league. Is this symptomatic of Brendan Rodgers' desire to get the back four to play football, when really they could just be hoofing it up the pitch? I mean, Mignolet played the ball out to Touré. Touré was under pressure immediately. If the keeper just clears his lines, that goal doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think the way Brendan Rodgers wants his teams to play is to be brave players who get on the ball in any area in the football pitch. Defensively, you sometimes think, is there times to get on the ball? I watched Chelsea last night, and when they defend, they clear the lines. They just get rid of the ball. They're not messing about in that defensive. They get rid of the ball and they defend together as a team, and that's something I don't think we do enough of. I think we are trying to almost play out, and we get caught a few times. And whilst it may be pretty to play out when you get away with it, when you get caught out, you know, you can look silly, as Kolo Toure did at the weekend. So I think that, like you said, there's a lot of errors there. We don't have a bad defensive record. Away from home, we probably do, but we score a lot of goals. So I think you sacrifice that by being such an entertaining side, the way Liverpool have been this season. No 0-0 draw. I think the fans will say it's been entertaining stuff this season and got the money's worth.
It has, and I guess the Rodgers way is okay if you've got the players to do it. And Skirtle and Touré aren't, you know, probably great defenders one-on-one, but they're not the best at little jink to free up some space to to stick the ball down the line or whatever. Like, I mean, Aga's obviously very good at that, but those two aren't.
I think it depends what you come up against. If you're playing up against one striker, it's a little bit easy to play out. If you're playing up against two, it becomes a lot more difficult then to get on the ball because you all of a sudden you are under pressure. West Brom second half pressed high, less time on the ball, and if there's less time, you're going to make mistakes. So Liverpool trying to play out got caught out.
Liverpool have dropped 12 points from winning positions this season. That's the most in the league, apart from West Ham. That tells me that they haven't quite worked out how to just shut up shop when they need to and park the bus if they have to get a result. They're too keen to maybe try and keep playing football, try and score a second. Jose Mourinho, winning 1-0 at a certain point, would say, that'll do us, thanks.
Yeah, but I think you can also flip it around the other side and say that Liverpool have done well, being on the front foot, getting that opening goal in games and giving themselves a really good start to the game.
Yeah,
and
that's true. They've scored first in 18 times this season, the most in the league. So.
Well, exactly. I mean, at times, in the first half at Anfield this season, we have blown almost every team away. Yeah. It's not just scoring 1, 2, 3 at times, and it's been really good stuff to watch. But when the lead is fragile the way it is with just the one goal, it allows teams back in. And I think Mignolet made a couple of fantastic saves just before the equalising goal. There was warning signs before it, and when it came, it had to be a former Everton player, an Ichibi. I was doing Radio City at the time and I was being quite critical. He's a centre-forward who somehow cost £6 million, I'm not sure quite how, and he's got 1 Premier League goal, so I was being a little bit maybe critical of that, and he goes and scores. So
we can blame you for this, can we?
I don't
Curse
think so.
Of the commentator.
I still stand by those words. If you're a centre-forward scoring 1 goal into February, I don't think that's good enough. So
no, that's true.
Especially if you're on a big price tag like that. So whilst he did embarrass me a little bit because it was literally 30 seconds after I'd said it, I still stand by that.
Yeah, what about Liverpool's centre-forwards in this game? They only created five chances this time round. That's the lowest they've managed all season. And options from the bench, again, Liverpool's number 9 sat on the bench when Liverpool need a goal. I don't know what to say. Brendan Rodgers doesn't have alternatives, does he? He clearly doesn't trust Aspas, which is bizarre because he bought him.
Yeah, well, we're saying there about an Ichibi, 1 goal. Aspas 1 goal, and that one, what was that in the FA Cup? Against Oldham. So if you're looking at the bench and you see Aspas, you're thinking, well, I'd sooner see just trust Suarez and Sturridge to try and create something. I mean, Brendan Rodgers has said that before. He doesn't believe in a plan B, although Aspas, he doesn't fill you with confidence coming on to do something. So he tried he did try and change it a little bit, Brendan Rodgers, at one stage. He went 3-5-2. And that had no effect at all on the game.
But those changes he made, bringing on Kelly and Allen, he was already going to make before West Brom equalised, because Kelly and Allen were on the touchline ready to come on. West Brom scored, so his plan didn't change.
But that's because West Brom were well on top at the time, and it looked like they were going to get a goal, and obviously they did do in the end. He was trying to change that because they were on top too much. So it was just disappointing. Changed to 3-5-2. It had no effect on the game. We didn't really look like getting that winning goal.
No. Man of the match for you for Liverpool, was it Sterling?
I did Radio City, man of the match, and I was a bit of heat at the moment. I gave it Mignolet because I was thinking about the save and the importance of it. But I think reflecting on it now, having time to think about it, I think Raheem Sterling, he's playing with the confidence, and he looks like he's playing with an extra yard of pace. We've said about that pace and how effective he can be. For the first goal, I've said it time and time again about Raheem Sterling. Run behind defences and create trouble, and that's exactly what he did. And that's where the first goal came from. Standing and wanting the ball to his feet, he's not really affecting the game, but running in behind defences with that sort of pace, he will create a lot of chances, and he's doing extremely well at the moment. Yeah,
he made 9 dribbles, 9 take-ons in that game, which is way above the average for, I think, Tottenham's Townsend has an average of 4.3 dribbles this season. He leads the Premier League, and Sterling made 9 attempts, which is exactly what you've been telling him to do, isn't it? Just go for it.
Just be a little, and he's playing with that confidence now. He's playing regularly. I think you do have to give Brendan Rodgers credit, because a lot of Liverpool fans were saying, why is he in the team? But he's proved why he's in the team, because he was really effective and in really good form. The speculation about Liverpool bringing in Salah that went to Chelsea, the Ukrainian that we never brought in either, these were players in Raheem's position, and you sometimes think, has that given him a little bit of a kick to think, well, I'm in the team, I want to stay in the team, and his performances have reflected that. So whilst Liverpool brought nobody in, Raheem Sterling certainly deserves his place in the side.
Yeah, you're probably right there. Now then, we've assassinated the defensive performance, but on the upside, points-wise, it's Liverpool's second best Premier League season to date since 2008-2009. The most improved team in the league on equivalent fixtures last
Never
season.
won that most improved award, do you?
It's better than not being the most improved.
It's not an award you want, though. But it's better than, like you say, than struggling.
Liverpool and Southampton are both 13 points better off compared to the equivalent games they played last season. 13 points, that's a big jump.
That is a huge difference, yeah.
So, you know, the graph is still doing that. It's not quite doing that yet.
Well, we're in February and we're still in 4th place, and we've been in those places throughout the season. It's not a case of playing catch-up like we did last season, 8th, 9th, 10th at times last season. We have been right in the mix all season, and it's going to be tight. It is going to be tight between now and the end of the season. I think fixtures, you could say, favour us a little bit because the top teams have got to come to our place rather than us having to go there. So massive game on Saturday now against Arsenal. Arsenal in town, Saturday lunchtime. Get the 3 points there. That would be huge 3 points. Arsenal won't fancy coming to Liverpool because of Liverpool's good home form. So hopefully put the West Brom defeat, respond well at home as Liverpool have done, and get the 3 points.
Yeah, that'll be a fascinating game, won't it? Arsenal have got so many of these little number 10s in this position, which is probably where Liverpool are lacking, because Liverpool just have Coutinho, really, that does that sort of thing. And if he's not firing, then there could be a battle won by Arsenal there. So he's going to be a crucial player.
Yeah, I mean, I was down at the Emirates for the game earlier on in the season when Arsenal deservedly won 2-0, and it was those positions just in front of Liverpool's back four. We couldn't control that. I think Giroud was on fire that day. He held the ball up. That meant that Arsenal had 3-4 runners running past him. They had the confidence and trust in him to make those runs in behind Liverpool's defence, and they played extremely well that day. I don't think they'll play that well again at Anfield. I think we will play much better than we did because we didn't play well at all. We're disappointed. So I'm confident. I'm really confident going into the game we can get the 3 points.
Yeah. These 12:45 kickoffs, do they favour the away team, the home team, or does it really not matter? Because obviously in a night game, like we saw in the derby, the crowd is completely up for it and it's kind of intimidating, but it's a bit flat, isn't it, at lunchtime?
It changes your routine as a player because all of a sudden you have your pre-match. When you have a 3 o'clock kickoff, usually about 11:30, 11:45, you're having your chicken and beans or pasta, whatever. Whereas at 1:15, kickoff, all of a sudden what you're doing, are you having chicken for breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning, or it completely disrupts that routine of preparation going into the game. We saw the derby this season, that was an early kickoff, 3-3, that was a cracking game. So it doesn't mean the fact it's an early kickoff, it's going to be a dull affair. But I think we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be an interesting one. It's just a big game for Liverpool to respond after the West Brom. We've took teams away in and around us with some fantastic performances, Everton, Tottenham, and this is equally as big now, this Arsenal one.
Indeed. We'll move on to Everton just in a minute, actually. But this week's quiz question for you. Steven Gerrard has scored 104 Premier League goals. How many of those have been with his head?
What did you say? It was 20 penalties out of the 100 when he got to 100.
That's right, yeah.
I will go for 10?
7.
7.
7. So, I don't know what that says. I just saw that stat and thought it was interesting. What about the transfer window? You mentioned Kono Playanka. Well, actually, you didn't mention him because you probably couldn't pronounce it.
I just called him Ukrainian.
Yeah. Liverpool missed out on him. Obviously, on social media, Ian Ayre's been getting a battering as usual, but I don't know what to say about Ian Ayre's performance, but it seemed like the Ukrainian Dnipro president pulled the plug at the last minute, so maybe that wasn't a Liverpool failing. But does it worry you that Liverpool aren't getting their targets in these windows?
I said on Radio City, I feel as though a lot of these players coming over, we've seen it with Willian, we've seen it with a lot of players that Liverpool have been linked with, and all of a sudden a Tottenham comes in, a Chelsea comes in, and for me a big reason for that is the hangers-on, the people around them, the agents, the advisors around these players. Whilst the player may want, I fancy going to Liverpool, all of a sudden the agent may go, well, Chelsea are giving me an extra 200, 300 grand, we're going to Chelsea. So I think these players are, I wouldn't say badly advised, I'd say a little bit of greed going on, certainly with the people around these players, and sadly it's difficult to compete in that. It is a business, and do we want a player who's looking for that money option, or do we want a player who wants to play for Liverpool? And at the moment we aren't bringing anybody in. It'll be a different ball game when we get in the Champions League. We finish in the top 4, all these players and agents will be desperate to be coming to Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Everton didn't strengthen significantly either during the window. They bounced back after their derby defeat with a win. 4 times this season they've lost games. They've only lost 4 times, and each time they've responded with a win straight away. So that's a very, very positive thing for Roberto Martinez to introduce.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, they're in that mix for top 4. You know, whilst we did beat them convincingly in the derby 4-0, they are right on our heels, and they'll be fighting all the way to the end of the season for the top 4 places. It was a good win, responded well, good character, came back from 1-0 down. made a couple of changes, and that made the difference in the end. But Everton, whilst they would have been disappointed from that derby defeat, that was a good 3 points, because Villa, they've been playing much better recently. Got a big win against West Brom themselves, and they've been playing a lot better. So that was a good 3 points for Everton.
Yeah, you mentioned Naismith there. Roberto Martinez says that number 9 is his natural position. Do you see Naismith as an out-and-out centre forward?
Not really, no. I've always seen him as somebody who can play as a partner, maybe. I've not seen him as that number 9 sort of centre forward. He does offer you goals. You know, he came on, and you're talking about Liverpool looking at the bench, who's going to offer you goals. Naismith on the bench for Everton offers you goals. When he came on, he proved that. He scored an equalising goal so early on when he came on, and it was a nice finish, because that gave Everton a big lift to go on and get the winning goal. I mean, the winning goal, Morales' free kick, it's funny because him and Baines were on the free kick, and they've both produced moments of brilliance from a free kick position. So they're a little bit spoilt for that, and it was a great free kick from Morales to win it.
Indeed, and maybe the unsung hero of that performance might be James McCarthy. He's been quite quiet in terms of us talking about him this season, but he won the majority of his aerial duels. He looked after the ball nicely, 86% pass completion, ran himself ragged, and also gave Gareth Barry the opportunity to become the highest passer on the league on Saturday with 86 passes. Barry made. No one else did more than that. So McCarthy, he's added something in that midfield and given them a real solid base to build on.
Well, we talk about partnerships, centre-forward partnerships, Suarez and Surridge. That central midfield partnership for Everton of Barry and McCarthy is proving to be a really good partnership. There's a good understanding there. They know exactly what's needed from each other, and they give good protection to the Everton back four, and also play it nice and simple to get the attacks going for Everton. So I think Martinez has those two signings in particular have been fantastic for Everton this season.
And they've got a big game at the weekend. I mentioned Liverpool against Arsenal, but Spurs against Everton, equally as big. How do you see that one going?
Well, I think Spurs, they've had an upturn in form recently with Tim Sherwood taking over, but I think the Europa League, that's coming back into play soon. That will have an effect on Tottenham's season. I think, it's a tough game for Everton, there's no question of that. I think they would have learnt from the defeat against Liverpool, and they could certainly get something from that game.
Yeah. Best result for Liverpool there would be a draw, I guess, would it?
Yeah, certainly would be a draw, seeing both, but they are rivals for the top four spot, taking points off each other. That would be ideal for Liverpool. Indeed.
And just very quickly before we go, Tranmere, Ryan Lowe again, last-minute winner away at MK Dons. This is sensational stuff.
Yeah, and he celebrated his goal against his former club, and rightly so, because it was a really important goal for Tranmere. They've picked up, and it was a big 3 points. MK, strange side, you expect them to be there or thereabouts for the playoffs. They've not been the greatest, but that was a big 3 points. And Ryan Lowe again, goal-scoring machine, we called it. 17 is it now this season? Yeah. He's banging them goals in at 34, looking after himself in good condition, and good 3 points for Tranmere.
And he's popped up with a number of late winners, hasn't he? Or late equalisers in recent weeks. That's very positive.
We were talking about Cassidy. What a great signing. He's not scored yet. Lowe is still scoring the goals.
Yeah, Tranmere up to 17th, 4 points clear of the drop zone. So maybe, just maybe, Ronnie Moore is going to save the team. That'll do us, Neil. We've got to shoot off. Thank you very much to the Rubis Cafe in West Kirby for looking after us. Thank you very much to Colin Bailey for filming and editing this little video. We'll see you next time. The T Street Band will play you out. Bye-bye.